You look at the different phases that you've worked, the radio phases you've gone through. You've been a boss jock, you've been a top cat, you've been one of the swinging men from 1410. Is there,
good guys.
One of the Seafun good guys. Is there a particular era of DJing? And I know you're not really comfortable with the term DJ, but is there a particular era of radio that was a lot more exciting?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the 60s, when the music was hot, that was pretty exciting to be part of it. Various times in each era have been interesting to me for one reason or another in terms of my personal growth and what I was doing and where I was at. But to be a kid, basically, and to be right in the vanguard of all that great music, you know, all the new Beatles albums, all the new Stones albums, Jimi Hendrix, you know, to be, it's just, I was very excited by it. I thought it was really interesting. Bob Dylan and all these people. It was really a fabulous time to be alive, and everything felt very vital and fresh in some ways. Of course, it took a turn for left, you know, when I think drugs became the common denominator. But at the start, you know, and through lots of the expressed philosophy of the time, it was really a great time to be part of it, and you know, to play those records first was kind of a thrill, you know, just, hey, here's Sgt. Pepper, you know, who knew that it was going to be what it is now.
When you look at the artists that have since become immortalized in rock history, like you mentioned Hendrix and Janis Joplin and the Doors, and you met these people and dealt with these people as they were on the top of the charts.
Some of them. Yeah.
Some of them. Any particular incidents stick out as particularly memorable?
Well, you mentioned Janis. I used to go for BCTV and talk to all of the performers backstage as they came. That was one of my gigs, you know. And Janis was kind of uncooperative, and I always got there late because I was essentially kind of nervous, and I didn't want to do too much talking with the performers beforehand because I always managed to do the interview before I got them on the air. And by the time I got on the air, we just stared at each other woodenly. But Janis was kind of a tragic figure, but I liked her. You know, she was just sitting in a dressing room. She told the camera people and the producer to bugger off, more or less, you know. And so he said, why don't you go and talk to her? And I was game. I thought, okay, well, I went in there and I talked, and I said, gee, would you mind if we do this? I came a long way, and I think you're terrific. And she said, I'll do it if you drink with me. And she had some Southern comfort with her. And I always used to like a drink, so I thought, gee, that'd be swell. And we did. And I'm not sure the interview, I can't even remember the interview. I think it was a very jovial interview, but we had about a half hour of, you know, drinking and talking and all that, and became the best of friends, as booze will do, and did this crazy interview. That was one of them. Another one was with Fleetwood Mac, and I used to try and pick one of the members, especially with the British groups, because they love to, as they said, send up the interviewer. They'd love to do that, you know, starting with the Beatles. It's an English pub game. Let's see if we can, you know, send up who the new guy is at the table. Well, the interviewer is always the new guy. So Peter, what the hell's his name? John McVie. John McVie. I cornered John McVie, and we went to one of the other rooms in the Bay Shore and had imbibed in one thing or another. And during that time, I said to John, geez, you know, if I come to you during this interview, you know, if the other guys start to, I hear they're kind of tough to interview, if they, could you, you know, answer my questions fairly straightforwardly and help me out? And, you know, would you mind if I do? No problem. Yeah, we'll do that. So, so we got them all together. The camera's behind me. They're all sitting in front of me, and you know, Big Fleetwood, the drummer, and all the guys. This was the early band. The women weren't in it, and they interviewed them. They introduced themselves very nicely all the way around. And when they got to John McVie, he collapsed in fits of giggles on the floor and never said another sane word during the interview. And the rest of them didn't much either. I'd say, you know, convoluted questions like, so the blues is very much respected in England, and you know, I'd have one of these very well-developed questions, blues masters, and they'd say, oh yeah, I'd say that, yeah, that's right, and just stare at me.